Alright, I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, we're skipping this. In loving memory of Joel. Oh god, I'm sorry, Joel. He smacked you on the end of this. Alright, so this is the part where I usually try to give my thoughts on the game. And I don't know if there's going to be a cutscene, so I'm kind of waiting for it to load back in. The ending is weird. Let me talk about the ending, I guess, first. It's weird that the game builds you to be this group, but for the last 2 hours, they pretty much just separate you from the other two members of the other three members, and they don't come up at all in the ending. It's kind of weird, I think. Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about the game. Let's return. Yeah, we can do it here. Okay. So the good stuff, the things I liked. I like the dynamics between the people in the Gotham family, or the Gotham family, the Bat family, like they call them. I think the characterization was, for the most part, pretty good, and I like their interactions. I liked being in the Belfry. I think that was good. Alfred was good. Pretty much those 5 characters, the 4 main ones and Alfred, they really kind of carry this game if there is anything to carry. In terms of the story, it has its moments. Some of the side missions were kind of good. Mr. Freeze was pretty good, I think. Harley Quinn was alright. Clayface was alright. In terms of side mission stories, the main story was also just fine. Part of it might just be me, because I think I've mentioned this in a video where I was talking about the Marvel TV shows, and I was talking about Daredevil and Defenders. The reason I didn't like Defenders, one of the bigger reasons, was because they were fighting the Hand, which is a shadowy, rich organization that is pulling the strings behind the scenes. It's just it's a villain that's hard to peg, and it's just it can be anything, but then you kind of defeat it, and it's just it's not a good villain type because there's no face to it. It's just an organization, and that's it. It's the League, and this game had 2 of them. It has the League of Assassins, League of Shadows, and Court of Owls. And they're just not a central villain that you can get emotionally attached to in any kind of way. At least with Mr. Freeze, Harley Quinn, and Clayface. There is some kind of human interaction, emotional interaction that you can have with that kind of villain. But with a shadowy organization, there's not really much you can have. The reveal that Jacob Kane is behind it. And I know nothing about Court of Owls, so that might be true. Jacob Kane might be the head. I have no idea. But it just didn't do anything for me because they didn't build up Jacob Kane as this important character in the game. He gave a speech at the funeral in the beginning, and there was a scene where him and Alfred were meeting up. And that was all we saw until it was revealed that he was the leader of the Court of Owls. So it just didn't mean anything. It was just, I don't know. It was just not a good villain. Talia al Ghul was slightly better. She was just doing shadowy stuff, and I don't know. Lazarus Pit, all that jazz, which I feel I've seen too much of already in media. I guess a part of in terms of the story, the story was fine. The story is one of the better parts of the game, and unfortunately, there's not a great game. So the story is mediocre at best, but another part of that is that I feel the League of Shadows has kind of been done to death. You've seen them in the Christopher Nolan trilogy. You've seen the League of Shadows in the other Arkham games, even focusing on the Lazarus Pit. You've seen that a million times. You've seen it if you've seen the CW shows, Arrow. The Lazarus Pits were a big plot point in Arrow for the longest time, and it's just it's not a fresh story. Maybe you coming in and you have no idea about the League of Shadows and the Lazarus Pits and all that jazz, that might be interesting to you, but it's not very interesting to me at this point. And I feel like that's going to be true for a lot of Batman fans. Like, they're going to see the same old, same old. Yeah, I guess that's my critique on the story. Let's talk about the open world. It's an open world game, but it is borderline empty. Like, there is not a lot going on. There's some bright lights in some areas, but a lot of places there's just nothing going on. It's not fun to travel around in. Like, this is pretty much all the traveling. There's not a lot of traversal. Your movement is incredibly stiff. Like, I don't know. This is me going in a circle. It's not great. You can't glide unless you're Batgirl, in which case you had to unlock a special ability for it. The world is just empty. There's not a lot going on. The side stuff, there are batarangs like around the city, and I wish I could just see one right now to pick it up. But there are batarangs around the city, and there's one. Sick. There are batarangs all over this town, and I swear when you pick them up, it is as if you've traveled back in time to an old video game from like the mid 2000s.
Here we are.
It's like I don't. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a commentary to me on the state of this game. If this game had come out in the mid 2000s, it'd probably be pretty good. We're not in the mid 2000s though. We are post that, so there should be, I don't know, more interesting ways to traverse around, other than the Bat Cycle, which doesn't have a boost, and it might have a boost if you do the side missions. It doesn't knock everything over, so you're constantly running into things and stopping. It's stiff to control. Your character is stiff to control. The open world is not fun at all to traverse through. It's annoying. It's annoying. All right, gameplay. Let's talk about gameplay. Combat, it's not good. It's borderline button mashing in a Batman game. And this game is meant to be separate from the Arkham games. It's not in the Arkham universe, which cool. But so it should, the gameplay should not have to be the same as the Arkham games. And I understand that. But on the other hand, you open the trailer with Batman is Dead, which is a direct follow-up to the Arkham Knight, to the way Arkham Knight ended, in which Batman is dead, allegedly. So you can't have your cake and eat it too, you know? I feel like this game is building on like the popularity of the Arkham series, and trying to like capitalize on the goodwill for the Arkham series, but it has done nothing to like make it stand out at all in terms of the combat. And obviously, the Arkham series is one of the best combat systems in the game. But I don't think you even have to necessarily rework the combat. Like, you could have done it the same way. A lot of games use the Arkham style combat. Ergo, the new Spider-Man games, which people love. It is very similar to the Arkham combat. That's how popular the Arkham combat is. So you didn't have to reinvent the wheel for this. And you didn't have to reinvent it poorly. It's just button mashing. I found I was playing on hard. I might have had a better time if I was playing on medium. But I found playing on hard, anytime I used the special moves that make the combat even like the most remote bit interesting, anytime I used the special moves, I feel like I was penalized for it, because I would be locked into an animation and enemies could hit me and damage me while I was doing it. And I think that's like something that shouldn't happen. Like, you know, the special moves are like the bread and butter of this combat. And like, you're penalized for using it. So it's like, I don't know, it feels kind of pointless. Stealth is like almost non-existent, really. Because there's no intricacy to the stealth combat. Again, like, compared to Arkham Knight, there was a lot of things you could do with stealth. There's really only 2 things you can do with stealth in this game. You can sneak up behind somebody and stealth take them down. You can maybe pull them off a ledge, and they'll fall to their deaths. Which Spider-Man, you can do similar things, but at least he'll web them to the building, like a little animation that doesn't make a ton of sense, but at least he's not killing people. But to me, Spider-Man isn't as big on the no-killing rule as Batman is, and his team should be. So, like, when I see these characters pull someone off a ledge, off a 30-story building, to their death, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You could have, like, the Bat Bike teleports out of nowhere. You could have, like, a batwing or something teleport out of nowhere and just grab them and take them to the ground or something like that, and have it implied. But like that stuff like that was missed. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Not all characters are as good at stealth as other characters, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense. I feel like they should have a certain baseline in stealth, and when I say that, I mean like Tim is the best at stealth. He has abilities that make him better at stealth. One of his abilities is to be able to like do a perch takedown, something from Arkham Knight, where you grab him and you pull him up on the rope. Everybody should be able to do that. I don't know why that's a special ability that is unlocked for Tim, but not everybody has it. Now, if you want to introduce something new to stealth, like they do with the teleporting stuff, that's new and that's interesting and that makes sense. It should be only Tim. But I don't know why the other three cannot do that. Because to me, another big issue with this game is the grinding. And I say that because it feels like the game starts and you're not at 100%. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like every game you should start at 100%, and as you play, you should maybe go up to 150%. Like, there's a certain baseline you should start at. And I feel like the game starts you below the introductory baseline, and you got to do a ton of grinding to get to the baseline, which I think you should have started the game at. And then you unlock the special stuff. But this game seems to lock a lot of the stuff that they even toted it in like the trailers and stuff, like the traversal stuff, like me being able to teleport. So this ability, which I don't even think it's that good, it's not very interesting to look at. But this ability to teleport that they showed off in the trailer, and they showed off like, oh, this is something you can do in this game. To do that, you have to do knighthood challenges, and to do that, you have to do 10 premeditated crimes around the city. And depending on the difficulty you're on, those crimes can take a while to get done. So to do 10 could take you like anywhere from like an hour to 2 hours. And you have to do that for each character. So you have to do 40 premeditated crimes to just unlock their special abilities. That they toted in the trailer, that they should have opened with. To get to the baseline. So you have to grind for that. There's a lot of level grinding that you have to do, which... I don't know, whatever. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of it, and I never necessarily had to grind outside of grinding to get the knighthood challenges. There were missions that I couldn't do that they do have recommended levels, and you should probably adhere to that. Otherwise, you might be spending more time than you'd like. And I had to back out of the Clayface mission, the last Clayface mission, because I was not at the appropriate level. So that's fine, I guess. But... I don't know. The combat is really too simple for a game that somewhat follows up Arkham Knight in a sense. It is just too simple. It's too button mashy, and I feel like any game that has combat where when you hit somebody a big old number pops up showing how much damage you did is a bad sign. It's a bad sign for any game because it shows you a lot of the upgrades you're gonna get. For example, I mean, I can show you some upgrades. Increase Robin's critical damage by 20%. Like, these abilities, Robin deals 20% more damage when attacking enemies from behind. Increase Robin's chance of landing a critical hit by 10%. These are not interesting upgrades. These are just like make number bigger upgrades, which doesn't mean a lot to me, especially when enemies tend to scale. It doesn't make a difference to get these upgrades, I think. And they're not interesting. And again, compared to Arkham Knight, the upgrades in that game were never like, oh, you do 10% more damage or whatever. There would be armor you could get so you could take more damage. But like it made sense in the context of the game. It wasn't like there were no crits really. I mean, I guess there were crits. But it wasn't like there were more interesting abilities. Most of the abilities in that game were more interesting than like number goes up. Number is bigger now. So in that sense, it's very boring to upgrade a lot of these characters. Like a lot of the abilities I don't have now is because I was like, oh, these seem dumb. I don't know. I don't know. I wish the game was better. I think I've hit most points. I hit the story, gameplay, traversal, the open world. I think I've hit most everything. If this game had come out maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe it would be perceived a bit better. But it is just so bland to go through. And everything is so gosh darn long to get through. Oh, and one other thing with the campaign, there are interesting missions in the campaign, that is for sure. But to get to a lot of those interesting missions, you got to do these boring, just go out into the world and stop 3 premeditated crimes, interrogate 3 goons. It's find this thing and then do this thing, and then we'll unlock the actual interesting missions with like some plot behind it, or with some like special little treats in there, like to differentiate the game. You got to do dumb stuff. Like the last 2 hours of this game, I had to spend like an hour doing Man-Bat stuff. Man-Bat like was introduced, and it was like, okay, this could be a nice one-off villain. But then they did it, and then they made you go around and fight 3 more different Man-Bats in the city. While the city was like literally going to hell, they were like, yeah, do 3 Man-Bats. Yeah, just do 3. I mean, why not? It's not great. It's not great. I would not recommend buying this game. This game is $70. Arkham Knight, you're better off buying literally any Arkham game, and you'll have more fun with this. One more, I guess, good thing I want to mention. There is some like decent attention to lore. There is stuff like in the Belfry, like a handicap elevator for when Barbara was Oracle. She was paralyzed. There's like a nice little detail in there for that. There's a picture of Connor Kent in the game. There's nice little Easter eggs, and I like that. I like that. But Easter eggs does not make a good game. You know what I mean? This is not worth $70. I don't think it's worth buying at any price. I'm kind of sad that I bought it. I never thought this game looked good, but I was like, oh, maybe I can be surprised, and I'm not surprised. The game is not good. So save your money, buy a better game. If you buy a game for this price, you are signaling, Warner Brothers Montreal, that we can keep putting out games like this. This will be good. And we're making $70 a pop? No. Do not pay for this under any circumstance. I don't care if you love Batman. You're going to be just disappointed. I have not played the multiplayer component, and I'm sure that adds a little extra spice to it and makes it more fun to play it with somebody else. But this game should also stand alone as a single player game. So I don't necessarily think that's going to make the game much better. So that's a wrap. This is probably one of the worst games I've played on the channel. Probably the worst game I've played on the channel. At least with the Avengers game, which is kind of similar to this. In terms of style, had a better campaign, and I was more interested in all the things that were going on in that game. This does not carry its water too well. And I think this game was in production. It was probably it had to have been in production when the original when the Avengers game came out in 2020. And I think this game was being made assuming that Avengers game was going to be a success, and that model would be a successful model for a video game. It's not. This game as a service stuff, where it's like, oh, it's multiplayer and everything is so generic, so that way it'll fit literally every character. It does not make a good plot. Maybe one day they'll have perfected it. So it's good, but this is not one of those days. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. It's been 15 minutes of game. If you want to leave a like, God forbid, subscribe, you can. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you want to, please do. Really helps out the channel. The reason I've been doing 12-hour streams between yesterday and today to finish this game is because God of War is coming out this week. And I do really want to play that. I have some time off from work, so I plan on streaming that. So if you can tune in to check that out, that'd be really good. I hope we can have some fun. Yeah. Well, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys for watching. This is good. This is a good game to get ready for God of War, because at least now, like, my soul is in the pits. And this God of War, which I've seen has been getting decent reviews. I haven't seen any spoiler stuff, hoping to avoid any spoiler stuff. Haven't watched the majority of the trailers because I don't even want that information. I'm hoping it's gonna be it can live up to the hype, or at least be as good as the last game. That's all I can ask for. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.